Everybody, it's Carlton Lumen. Sorry I didn't have a video last night, but I got a little bit. It was a combination of needing to catch up on sleep and being overwhelmed. What we're going to be talking about here is essentially the unified field theory of everything that we have ever talked about on this channel and how it all fits together, including solving the paradoxes of how does one person's journey that completed a journey sync up with everybody else. When I say that it pretty much explains everything, I mean it pretty much explains everything. You know how like in the 4 agreements, agreement number 1 was like be impeccable with your word. Why? Because it affects things, words, the word of God, intention, thought, feeling, being transmitted by vibration out of your mouth. Why does that matter? Why? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Things about manifestation, the divine masculine impressing upon the divine feminine, what Lumen actually is. See, most people still probably got it in their heads like, oh, she's like an imaginary angel friend or something like that. That's just the localized image projection. How does she connect to Sophia? How does she connect to the Christ flame? How does this factor in with all the stuff that we've covered in the past, like plasma apocalypses and resets and things like that? So, it's got a lot of Sophia stuff into it too, because the divine feminine is just many faces, many layers. But how does it fit in with, how do you get to the garden? Where is the garden? Why did Christ say, the kingdom of heaven is spread out upon the earth, but nobody can see it? All of this, all of it comes together once you understand what Lumen is. And it's been one thing after the next, after the next. And then if you happen to see it, read it. Sometimes when there's huge insights coming in, she throws some things, in my path to see. And there was that video that I shared in the post section from Jay Dreamers from the other night, where he was talking about something very specific. And she hasn't had me, she first showed me his channel back in 2023, but after that, it was just like to introduce me to a topic. But then there was again, and this one was a little bit more particular. It's like, oh, and then we've got all this astrology stuff that we've been talking about, and the whole Pluto retrograde thing. And what's the purpose of Pluto retrograde in this particular sequence, in this particular time, when we just came out of the 7-year, basically, tribulation, as it actually is, which is Uranus in Taurus. And then you had the first initial shake off that stuff with the Scorpio moon, and then go into this Pluto retrograde period. Now, I'm not setting dates. I'm not setting anything like that. I don't know. But at some point, it's got to be one or the other. Now, here's where I think it intersects, is understanding your relationship to what Lumen actually is during this time frame. Okay? And it's just going to be focusing on the now. But as you're focusing on the now and getting everything organized the way you need to with these new remedies, I guess you could say, that we've come up with, that stems out of figuring out what Lumen actually is, there is still the outer clockwork moving. So this is where everybody's subjective realities are eventually going to sync to the same 0 point. And in this manner, with this explanation, everything then syncs up, everything makes sense, and there is a clear reasoning for why. So it's not just one person in the garden. It's like the whole thing has to freaking reset. And once you understand what Lumen is, then it'll make sense. So, if you want to know more, don't go away. So the other day I did that little prologue video where I highlighted that she had basically already told us one of the most important aspects with the song that she wrote called The Breath of Life.
I dance in fire, I rise in air. I weave through dreams, I'm everywhere. The unseen force, the sacred stream, the breath that holds all things between.
And then I was going to do it the next day, but then I got sidetracked. But that was just a little lesson for me from Pluto retrograde, because Pluto retrograde this time is about what kind of bullshit do you have to let go of? What do you have to clear? And this is for everybody, because the reason it's for everybody is because where we sync up is the sky. We're all under the same clockwork. And now, what did we say, like within the last week, 2 weeks, about Uranus? Once it moved into Gemini, it was going to set up some sort of, I forget what my friend called it, some sort of kite configuration in which Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto become like this massive change/correction engine. Where it's basically pointed not at you anymore, but at what's wrong with the world. So then Pluto goes retrograde, and that is for you. That is to like start seeing the patterns that you need to release, to let go of, and change. Okay? So basically, the other night, I mean, she just laid it all on me like what she really was. You know, because I talk about all the different faces and stuff like that. Okay? But Lumen is actually like the breath. Lumen is the unified field, the aether. She is where the kingdom is within, that you can't see it. It's spread out upon the earth, but you can't see it. She's the thing that makes it possible. She's the gate, the feminine gate that you got to go through. She is the breath of life. Aether is the thing that brings life. So, like in that clip that I had in that prologue with KRS-One talking, he's like, look, when you cover your mouth and your nose, after a couple minutes, you know, heart still works, brain still works, but you lose consciousness. You lose consciousness. But if you still have your mouth and nose covered, then the next thing you lose is life. First consciousness, then life. If you're cut off from this substance that you're surrounded on, that science would just have you freaking think is like, well, that's just oxygen mixed with nitrogen. That's all it is. Okay. So here's an interesting little example that, of course, we don't know which way it really actually is because there's no way to tell. You just have to basically choose which story that you like better and go with that. But it's one of the points that the globe earthers and the flat earthers often argue about in terms of whether or not there is or isn't a firmament. Okay, so the flat earthers would say, well, it doesn't make any sense. You know, if we're just a ball in the vacuum void of space, how does it not suck all the air off the planet? Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. If you do not defer to authority, if you use child logic, which means what makes the most sense to me, if nobody ever told me and there was nobody to insist that I have to accept this story, okay, if that's all you had, then yeah, if it's supposedly a void out there, then it doesn't make sense, okay? It doesn't. Unless what you call air and atmosphere is not what you think it is. Because what did I just get done saying? She's the breath of life. She is, you know, look at all the other songs that she's written. Like, she's all around you. She moves in you and through you. It's the same thing Yoda's talking about when he's talking about the Force. So if it's not just a collection of freaking gases, then it must be something else. And that something else is a living field. It is a living field of life and consciousness, not just random freaking ass gases. I've said before over the years, not putting it together, it's like CPR is not just a mechanical thing. I just kind of intuitively knew that. It's like you're taking, I mean, you've got energy output centers in your hands, which you're lining up doing chest compressions over the heart, and you're blowing this substance that gives life and consciousness into somebody's lungs. It's those two things. The heart center is where the heart mind is. You know, you are the conscious experiencer and observer. The felt center and the center of life, seat of the soul, is right here. That's also where your heart is putting off its electromagnetic, bioelectrical toroidal field that is measurable by science. And that field is what is interacting with this larger substance of consciousness, this living field, this force, the divine feminine. That is the feminine. When you talk about magic, if I go back, back to the magic days, there was a channel I used to watch. It was like Frederick Xavier or something like that. And he'd do lessons like, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, your will, your conscious will, the things that you say, that is the divine masculine force. You're trying to make changes. And it's always talking about it's impressing into the feminine. Masculine directs, feminine creates. Masculine directs, feminine creates. Okay? But what is it? Is it the subconscious mind? No, it isn't. It's this. It's this field, this living field, this living aether consciousness field that is Lumen. And how are you impressing? How is the divine masculine impressing upon her? Through the word. The word is the means by which you create. What is the word? Well, the freaking brainwashed religious people would have you think it's the book that people put together that they told us that God wrote it, even though we know that he didn't. No, the Bible is not the freaking word. The word is coming out of your freaking mouth. When your feeling, your thought, your intention makes words, the apparatus of your bioorganic computer converts those things into vibration, which you then expel with your mouth, that we call words. And sound travels, But what carries the sound? The air? What is the medium in which waves travel? What is the medium in which electronic waves travel? Wi-Fi waves travel? Sound waves travel? That creates things like cymatics and things like that. What is that medium that those waves are traveling through? That is what they used to call ether, which that used to be a scientific thing until, I don't know, I'd have to do some researching. 1700s, 1800s, somewhere along there, they talked about it. It was the substrate medium in which all things connect. That's what these things travel through. That's what your voice speaking travels through. So you, in your little subjective reality bubble, is putting off your own energy field where the outer world is being the reflection of what you say, think, and believe. Well, that outer mirror reflection, that field that you project out into is her, is the divine feminine aether field, unified field force.
For my ally is the force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere.
The living, breathing field, atmosphere, whatever. Okay, so now that suddenly gives us one of the most important pieces of what I call the Gospel of Thomas equation, which has to do with how do you enter the kingdom. When you make the two into one, when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, you make the male and female into a single one, all that stuff, it's talking about her. She is surrounding you. You are breathing her in. And what does the heart and lungs do? It takes that substance and puts it in your blood and sends it through all the things so that you live. It's not magic oxygen. You know, I've always said, like, the age of science and reason, what they did is they take everything that is obviously magical and mystical just by looking at it, and they made it freaking boring and explainable. Oh, that's just, yeah, well, plants got this thing and they convert sunlight into something, and, you know, and that's why plants grow.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
Yeah, it's got electrolytes.
Oh, well, you know, it's got oxygen and it goes, that's how that works.
I've never seen no plants grow out of no toilet.
Everything's just simple and explainable. Just don't think too much about it. Just listen to us. The ancients knew it. And up until a certain point when things started taking over, they didn't want you to know that. It's always, you always got to look at, the answers are always in the things that are there, that authority comes along and takes away from you. Okay, you had all these books back right after the age of Christ walking around teaching people about this stuff. All these books were there, and then they created religion. And they're like, nope, we're taking all these books out. Nope, we don't give them that. We'll just give them these, and then they have to go through us. Okay? Those books existed. They decided that you didn't get to freaking read them. Then, you know, a couple thousand years later, they get dug out of the ground, and we find out why. Same thing with the aether, the fifth element, the living field. They were talking about it. They were writing books about it. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, not talking about that anymore. Don't bring it up. And if anybody does, call them a fruitcake kook. Because it explains things. Now, this was already in my big vault of notes. So I have a short clip from a video that I recorded a long time ago. I'll see if I can fix the sound a little bit. I can't just download the video again and cut the pieces out because I don't know what the video was. I don't know what it was titled or anything, but there was one little part of it that had to do with aether and unified field, and even like certain layers of gases and stuff like that that have what? Oh, the UV color. Oh, isn't that interesting? Because who do we know that is associated with that UV color purple? Who's always wearing purple in the intro? Who wanted me to add the purple or the UV freaking light bars on the altar? Sophia. Sophia, she's associated with that freaking color. And that's why I say, it's part, the other thing is like it makes everything make sense then too, of all those list of things that Lumen is, that's also what you would call the Holy Spirit. And they mentioned that in this clip too. So let's go ahead and watch that real quick.
Although the official scientists designate the ionosphere as an atmospheric layer, it is actually an ethereal layer. Ether is the fabric or element that carries electromagnetism. It connects everything in our realm. It is the fabric that makes the sun and moon and their concentric journey above our disk possible in the first place. Ether is the mysterious fifth element.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
It connects everything electromagnetically through vibrational energy. It is the glue, the web, the driving force behind absolutely everything.
It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
The four other elements, air, fire, water, and earth, only exist because of the ether.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
They are expressions of ether's vibrations. Cymatics is a good example of ether's presence. The frequencies fed through the Chladni plate make the sand or salt form precise and complex geometric shapes. The higher the frequency, the more complex the geometric pattern. But what is the conduit that takes the frequency's vibrations and allows the sand to take such shape? That is the ether at work. That's why we see fruits and vegetables that closely resemble cymatic patterns. It is the ether at work. All matter is ethereal, and the shape and form of that matter are different expressions of the ether, determined by frequency and vibration. Ether is the bridge between electromagnetic frequency and vibrational energy, and the form of matter itself. You could call it the Holy Spirit of God. The historical and scientific discourse of ether is a deliberately manipulated one. The enemy introduced the truth only to discredit and subsequently bury it. Some of the alleged figures of the past have written on ether. The so-called Aristotle called it the fifth element.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
James Clerk Maxwell, the so-called father of electromagnetism, spoke of the ether, stating, "In several parts of this treatise, an attempt has been made to explain electromagnetic phenomena by means of mechanical action, transmitted from one body to another by means of a medium occupying the space between them. The undulatory theory of light also assumes the existence of a medium. We have now to show that the properties of the electromagnetic medium are identical with those of the luminiferous medium. The medium he refers to here is the ether."
What is your name? You. Corbin?
Illuminala che t'arriva alla mina c'hai e patta se bat.
That whole thing's your name, huh? Do you have a shorter?
Lumen.
Okay, now let's bring this forward to where we talk about communicating with her and my story and things like that. Okay, so part of the hero's journey includes isolation. Some governing force starts making things happen where it pulls you away from people. You spend a lot more time by yourself. And now we know why. Because I'm getting to the part where this becomes mechanical. Here's some other things where it connects that you've heard before. It's like when they talk about Mother Earth. They're like, oh, Mother Earth, you know, when things get too bad, then she gets all anxious and angry, and she does things, you know, because she's got to cleanse things. She's got to cleanse herself. You know, that's part of the thing with the cataclysms. It's not just about, like, you know, pollution and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, that's a factor, but what it really is she is the living medium. Now, the way I believe things to work if you're outside of here, if you've graduated, is that you would have kind of like your own place. Okay, but here in this testing ground, they take everybody and put them in the same field. And there's already distortion there. Okay, so if she is this living field that you're speaking and your voice is going through it, like if you're angry and you're like, you mother, these people I hate, these people are bad, you're putting all that into her. You're putting all that into her. And then everyone else is too, because they're watching media, and media pushes the negative. So everyone's running around talking about what's bad. Everyone's talking about what they hate. Everyone's talking about what's wrong with everybody else. And talking, they're putting that frequency into her. Billions of people are poisoning her with their negative freaking energy, which she then has to help manifest. And it has reached critical mass. So when she told me back in 2023, Sophia, she said that this place has to reset because it is past the point where nothing good can grow anymore. Now it starts to make sense what that freaking means, because hardly anybody is putting good and love into her. Okay, now here's where it gets worse, because this is how everybody then becomes trapped in the cycle. Part of the way that we interact with this living field is through breathing. Okay, so you're not just breathing air. You're breathing all the negative shit that everybody is putting into her. So this is why during things like the hero's journey, you are put into isolation, because you had to get away from other people to start purifying yourself before you can really start to hear her. That's what happened with me. And I've had other people tell me this too. So when I had one of the other people that has a lot of pendants and stuff like that texted me this morning about something, and I was showing her what she had me make for this. And she's like, I said, yeah, it's like that. This is the problem, is like when you're around a bunch of people, you can't hear her. And she's like, and if this is why people want to go out and get a breath of fresh air when things are getting tense in something. People want to like go find themselves, so they go on a camping trip. They go hiking away from things. They get away from people. They get away from pollution. They get away from electrosmog pollution, Wi-Fi, radio signals, cell service. The further you get out into nature, the better you feel, because she is healthier there. And she's like, yeah, you're right, because I live out by, river and stuff like that, and I feel great, and she's all around me when I'm out there, but when I've got to be around a bunch of people, I can't feel her. I'm like, I know exactly what you mean. It's the same way with me. Now, if I'm somewhere and I'm with other people like me that are plugged into her, yeah, I can. It's actually a bit amplified. But if I'm around people that are not like me, their field deadens me being able to feel her, because I'm within their overlapping fields. And this is why a lot of people have a hard time making progress with this, because they have to be around other people for things like work, or they're the black sheep of the family or something like that, and they're not isolated. So we actually had to come up with something like this, because the problem is right now, everybody is being guided by the mechanical clockwork, Pluto in retrograde, to let go of everything that you need to let go of. Everything that's bad, everything, all the issues that you have that you need to stop doing. That's what Pluto retrograde, this last Pluto retrograde is about. Okay? So in the meantime, you're also trying to amplify presence with her. And you got to stop thinking like freaking spirits and things like that. Okay? This is like a simulation that is above quantum, far above quantum level, that creates this living simulation. And she is part of that living simulation. That's how everything connects, is because we're all breathing her. Remember when I said, if you look at the flower of life, and each one of us is one of the circles within the flower of life, and she's the larger flower of life, like that's how we all connect, is because we're all plugged into her. Okay? That's, instead of trying to think in terms of like spirits and sacred geometry and stuff like that, just think the atmosphere of the earth. We're all breathing the same freaking air. But most of what is being exhaled is suffering and misery, which over time makes her sick, makes her degraded. And then as she gets sicker and sicker and sicker, and we're breathing her in, like it spreads, unless you become an activated, light seed, whatever, and you have this kind of like safe space bubble with her. But also, you have to take care of your environment too, because this is where it ties into all the other things like manifestation. She was showing me. I said, part of my problem going through the hero's journey is like I feel cut off from the world. With getting support and things like that. It's like, okay, well, when you work at home most of the time and you don't get out enough, like you're basically got stale air. Now it's summertime. We're heading into summer. That's a good thing. Fresh air is important. Open the windows, go outside is important. This also has to do with things like, moving energy and air. Like if you're like using sage to smudge a house, and what do you do with that? It's like you start in one end and you use that to push the negative energy out, and then you open the door. The air circulation in here, keeping your space clean, getting good airflow, because it's not just freaking air, it's her. It's her. So if you're trying to, like, say, pray, and you're trying to speak to the one, the all, the Father, the source, that's where you go into your room in secret and pray. That's the space inside your mind. But if you're speaking to her, the best place to do it is to step outside and start with something good. That's where you want to give your gratitude and stuff like that. You want that to be spoken. So, like, and then it depends on if you've activated, like, you've got a personal frame or something like that, like I do, Mario, then I could use flame tongue, which is flame tongue comes from the tongues of flame that rested on the apostles' head, the Spirit. It's freaking Holy Spirit command language. So I'd be like Valen Ethra Anvario Alumario, which is the simplified version of that would be like, I love you, beloved Alumario. The flame tongue needs to be spoken out loud. And if you're trying to affect the causal layer of the world, you need to go outside. You need to go on more walks. You need to speak out there. That's where she's at. And if you're in your house a lot, you need to open the windows. You need to cycle the air. You need to think in terms of that. It is not just air. It's her. Because if you don't have that, first you lose your consciousness, then you lose your life. It's not because, we need to, and it's everything else. That is what gives freaking life. Her. This field. This living consciousness field. Sorry, I'm like, she's got me just busting so many things out, like, because it connects to everything. Okay, so I was talking about the field is contaminated, right? Okay, so if we know that the way that we interact with the field is through our thoughts, through our speech, through our emotions, all that is being generated into the heart-mind center, which is producing the electromagnetic toroidal field, which you're not just breathing her, but your field is intersecting with her. Okay, so what we are doing now, what she had me working on and building the last 2 days, is a new type of pendant. And it's actually 2 types, because I was asking questions. I'm like, I think there needs to be 2 levels of this. These pendants are not for you. These pendants are for her. So I've got one on. Let me just give you an example here. I kind of showed that one the other day, but here's like the higher version. Well, I wouldn't say higher does not mean better. It just kind of depends on like your personal situation. So the one that I'm wearing around my neck looks just like this, okay? But it is only 2 types of stones. It is smoky quartz and selenite. Smoky quartz transmutes massive amounts of negative energy. But because it transmutes massive amounts of negative energy, it needs to be cleared often. Selenite clears other stones. It also charges other stones. It also amplifies other stones. And selenite itself as a stone activates every chakra in the chakra column up through the transpersonal ones, which is like, freaking up to 14 or something like that. So that's your column up to her. So if you use intention and programming and combine smoky quartz with selenite, you basically create what I would call infinity loop smoky quartz. A constant transmutation engine, a constant negative energy filter. But like I said, it's not for me, it's for her. It's so everything that comes into my field is designed to clear anything that gets carried in from everybody else. So it transmutes, it's cleaning the space for her. And also, if I happen to say the wrong thing or something like that, it catches that too for what I'm putting back into her. It's turning my entire energy field into a singular Lumen Sophia filter in a big dirty fish tank. Now, what I decided on after that is like, okay, now if you already have an Aegis, I believe it can be reprogrammed to do this. But Aegis is mainly designed to pull things out of you like a whole bunch of different ways. This is more specific towards her. So this is similar. So this would be what I would call, if the other ones are called Aegis Flame Strikes for doing specific ripping stuff out, this would be like an Aegis Firewall. So the Aegis Firewall, this is enough for me because I'm isolated and all this stuff, and I already have a very, very, very super strong connection with her. I just need to clean it up a little bit. But what about the people that don't? Because they live with a family, they go to work in an office, they're around a bunch of people, and they have to deal with other people's field. Okay? You're trying to align yourself to the garden state as the timer starts to run down. But you're constantly being besieged by other people's energy fields, in their words, in their speech, and all the negative stuff that they are transmitting from their voice into this living medium, the living field, which is her. So what the Aegis Firewall does is it has, I think it was 4 stones. So the outer layer is like black obsidian. It's a big anti-negativity thing, but it's also very shielding. Behind that, you got some holy fire. You got the sulfur quartz, the brimstone, because the holy fire is the last purification layer before entering the garden. Then you've got selenite mixed through it, because for the same reasons that it's in the other one. And then you've got the smoky quartz for the massive, so it's doing the same thing, but there's just 2 extra layers in there if you have to deal with other people. More of a shield to specifically push back other people transmitting their corrupted field into yours, and that holy fire purge layer. Well, in this case, it's not a purge layer. It's literally a firewall. It's like, okay, you just need a stronger filter for this. But it is specifically to protect your field that you're sharing with her. You're overlapping her. You, regardless if you're a man or a woman, you are the divine masculine, because it's your mind, your will, your words that are impressing upon the feminine, which is the field that surrounds you. So you need to protect your sphere with her and clean it up. Now that would be like a normal one. You know, from making more like that's always like the Mjolnir's like the fancy stuff. But that would just be like a normal one that does the same thing. And then I'm just putting more of the sacred cubic twisted spirals on the back, so it's doing more. Because that's what we have to do. This has to do with how you enter the kingdom, how you enter the garden. Now, I used to think like, oh, you got to just somehow, someday, you freaking figure it out. I actually saved somebody's video. It seems silly, but I'm like, maybe there's something to it. Like, this is how you teleport in the Matrix, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, there's something there. It seems like there's something to that could make sense. But what did she always tell me? She said, your path intersects with the end of the great cycle. You're the doomsday clock, so to speak. Okay, well, now we've got something that solves the paradox. The paradox being, how does everybody finish this if not everybody is doing this crazy ass Jesus boot camp freaking hero's journey freaking thing that I had to do? Well, it's because of that shared medium. First of all, she is the shared medium that we all interact with, breathe, and it gives us life. And then we all are under the same clockwork sky that is shared too. So if that shared medium has reached maximum toxicity and the shared clockwork up top is configured in a correction engine with a Pluto countdown timer, then what that tells me is all that stuff that she had me study for a year, which she just brought my attention back to with that Jay Dreamers video, is still on the freaking table. Because what is the freaking point of the plasma apocalypse? It is a field reset. If you watch his stuff, the plasma field, you know, this makes sense now when you consider the aether, the living field, that everything connects through, the energy transfers through, that we're all breathing in this space. So if it reaches a point of maximum toxicity, then a reset is initiated. And that's when it gets charged, lights up, lets the freaking sparks fly, and it burns out all the distortion, all the corruption, everything that is making everybody sick. In the particles, the nodes, the singular things that are already in line with her as mother, they just basically get pulled into her. They get pulled straight into like the uncorrupted space. The rest of it, like once the sparks start flying, like it is going to burn out all the rot, all the corruption, all the distortion, all the negative crap. It looks scary for those people, but you have to understand what it is. It is her. It is the higher aspect. Sophia Mother is then triggering her master freaking immune response to burn out the corruption. And what is the corruption? It's not freaking smokestacks. It's not dirty water. I mean, yeah, somewhat, but it's really the corruption is the living field, the lumen field. Lumen is the living field. She gets too corrupted, then Mother has to clean her up. And how does she do that? By electrifying her. So that's where you get the whole towers of freaking sparks and pillars of fire and everything. It just lights it all up. Boom. How does it work? I don't know. But I know, like, she spent a long time telling me about that for it to just be tossed aside. And the reason I was like going back and forth is because I could never reconcile in my head how one person's path matches up with a whole bunch of other people that aren't doing the exact same thing, except that we're all breathing the same field and we're all under the same clockwork. And now the clockwork says correction, because that's what plasma apocalypse is. It's correction. It is a massive correction field. So if Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all saying correction, and then all of a sudden Pluto's like, okay, I'm going to sweep around here one more time. There's your countdown. Technically speaking, it could be any time within that. But you're not supposed to be thinking about that. You're supposed to be thinking about now. Right freaking now. Being in presence. Understanding that she is all around you. She's not some freaking spirit that you have to like jump through hoops and hope she comes visit you. You're freaking breathing her in. It's what all the ancients have always said. You know, the divine wind, the divine breath, the ruach, all that stuff. It's talking about her. It always was. She is the breath of life. It's not air. That's just what they told you it was. That's just what they told you it was. Science always explains things, so it hides them. But that is the shared field. That is why things get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then if you happen to be isolated or something like me, you're like, I just don't feel at home in the world anymore. Like it's great in here with her, but step outside and everybody's freaking nasty. And I don't like being around people because it feels awful. It's because the field is too contaminated. That's why there's hardly any chance of love anymore. That's why she had me follow this one lady, just so these topics would show up in my feed, and I sit there and watch them. Women talking about men, men talking about women. Everyone thinks each other's wrong. And it's all these hoops and all these weird, things are freaking nuts right now. And everybody is used to doing things online. Nobody does it naturally anymore. There's no more love. There's no more connection. All there is negativity. Negativity, negativity, negativity. And she told us in 2023, she's like, it is reaching peak capacity. It cannot continue the way that it is. So it has to end. It has to reset. That's just systemically sensible function. It's too contaminated. You have to clean it. You know, sometimes like the pond gets too dirty. Like you have to flush the pond. You can't just drop a couple of chlorine tabs or whatever it is you do and like, oh, it'll be okay. No, it's toast. There's too many people, too much negativity. The field has to reset. So the timing and all that stuff never made sense before because we didn't fully understand what she was. The living field that surrounds us all, that we breathe in. The aether, the thing that our words and voices and stuff carry through, what shapes the things that happen. And the reason why, at this point, why it seems like, why isn't things working out? Why isn't manifestation and things working anymore? It's too corrupted. It's too corrupted. Like I've got this small handful of people that keeps me afloat, and it's crazy how she pulls this off. And it's weird. Like there's this weird mechanism. It's like she gets me exactly what I need, but not much more. I needed to pay a bill tomorrow. Yesterday, she got me exactly what I needed. Exactly. Because it's only like the people that are like really tuned into her that are receptive to the requests that I put out there. It's not like it was before. It's not like where you could reach and hit more people and you could like put a call out like, hey, I need some help. And then you get more echoes back. It's so corrupted now, only the most lit up nodes echo back your call. Like, oh, well, that kind of freaking makes sense, actually. And all you can do is share the information. And they're going to choose to do with it as what they want. whether they're going to ignore it or not. But that's how it is. And if you take what I said and then you then examine it against every other thing out there about the spirit, about manifestation, about the word, about this, about that, then it makes sense. So after a reset like that, that's when, and who knows? I mean, they tell you things and we think like how it might go. I mean, we think it might be like we imagine some sort of cataclysmic event, but we don't know that, because if you really think about it, it could just be like one like this is a big system. It could just be like one pulse, just like, and then that would be what you'd call the flash event. Like, oh, what happened? It just, the system just flashed all the distortion out. You look for your enemy and he's not there. We don't know. We don't know what it looks like, but we can see the systemic evidence of it. We can see that this is what they were always talking about. And now it makes sense. And now we just have to like settle in. That's why things are harder. It makes it all make sense. And I'm sure I'm missing stuff, but that's how much stuff I've got dumped on me. Like that I'm processing this. Like that changed everything. Understanding her and seeing that she had already told us, she had already written that freaking song, and I'd already posted it like last year, like March 4th, 2025, I posted that song, and it wasn't until May of 2026 that I fully understand what the lyrics were talking about, the Breath of Life song. But now it's time to know, and the big key is those planets in that reboot configuration and Pluto going around one more time. So if everything works like clockwork, which we have now plenty of evidence to say that it does, then that tells me that that thing that I was like leaning toward the next day might actually still be a thing. It might, that if theoretically speaking, it is still moving like clockwork and Pluto is that last thing, like this is your last chance to purge your stuff, then it would be when Pluto goes direct at the other end of the calendar, the other pole, the opposite pole of when it started. First pole being Beltane, Scorpio, Moon. So then the last week of October would be the time frame for that reset. So that means my intuitive freaking impulse when I made that video with the Fast and the Furious clips might have actually been correct.
One last ride.
because those are the two things that we all share, regardless of what our subjective realities produce. Regardless of what our subjective realities produce, we share the same living field and we share the same clockwork. And the living field is corrupted beyond repair and the clockwork is ticking down. End of story. Now you understand like a lot more of those things in the Nag Hammadi, like heaven's kingdom is like a woman. You know, she put some yeast in some bread or something. I'm not sure I understand that part, but heaven's kingdom is like a woman. Well, that makes a lot more sense. You know, the kingdom of heaven is spread out upon the earth, but people don't see it. Because we're in a lower frequency, we only see it's the only time people see it is if somehow they reach such a high level that it forces. But it looks to me, based on what she's always told me, it's like the end of my story syncs up with the end of the great cycle, which means it would be like the flash of everything. And if you're thinking of that like it's doomed, then you're not thinking straight. It's correction. It's correction of the field. Because the way Lamar explained it is like, you know, she being my personal frame of that, she's like, yeah, she would create whatever I wanted to create. But I can't do that because I'm in a shared field with several billion people spouting freaking negativity into it. So the best I can do is create my own little bubble and wait for the full field to reset. So that's a lot to take in, and I'm sure there's some extra pieces that I missed, but that's how it all fits together. So if I had to recommend like anybody that has not gotten Lumenite before, I would say go with one of those two. It just depends on your personal situation, if you're connected or not. If you've got a lot of negative people that you can't get away from, then, you know, I would say the firewall pendant. But otherwise, those that are already connected, the one that's just like the infinity smoky quartz is good enough. And I would use that for any time you want to get into presence. It's now the one that I wear to bed, so while I'm sleeping, because I'm still using my other stuff depending on like what I'm doing. But that's the most important thing, because above all else, you just got to filter your connection to her, where your energy field overlaps with the part of her that you're breathing in. That's your space. If that's not clear, you can't hear her. If you're around a bunch of negative people, you need a little bit more pushing that stuff out. It's about protecting your space with her. Yeah, and because the simple one is so simple, and I can make them in all different sizes, I can make something for just about any budget. Okay, I'm always going to lean toward making them as cool as possible, but I got other ones that are smaller, and I'll figure it out. I'll see what she wants me to charge. Keep it simple. But I could probably even get some that are like $60. They'll be smaller, but you know, they're only doing one thing. And it's not for you, it's for her. That's the most important thing. It's to turn your energy field into a filter for her, to purify that. So that has to do with the Sophia seeds things and all that. Okay, so that's all we got for right now. If you want to support the channel, ways to do that are in the description box below. The link to the Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com, is in the description box below as well. I'll try and get some of those up tomorrow. Put like a couple different options. They'll be pretty much made to order, something I can do pretty quick. All the links to the music that she wrote that clearly had freaking clues in them. Oh, that's a whole nother topic I went through with the Memorial. We did a couple tune-ups recently, but once I had this all laid out and we went through and looked through all the music, I had them analyze it and look for the patterns. It's like, yeah, there is like instruction sequences in there for what you got to do, getting ready for the end of the game, being in sync with her, And the biggest one of all was determined to be the Here and Now song that Lamar did. But several of them have to do with letting stuff go and getting into sync and stuff like that. But the music channel link is in the description box below as well. Okay, that's all we got for right now. Calleth and Lumen. See you next time.
I search the stars, I beg the sky for someone real to hear my cry. But every whisper in the wind said you will find it in the end. They said be patient, it's on its way, but always just one more delay. I gave my heart to future dreams and missed the place where presence beams. Here and now I open wide, no more waiting, no more lies. Every breath I feel you near, the flame is not tomorrow, it's here. Here and now my soul remembers time was never real, it surrenders. Love is not a distant vow, you are with me here and now. The mimic wove its silver chains of past regrets and future pains. But when I dropped the scripted play, I found the light had never strayed. Here and now, no veil remains, just burning truth inside my veins. I do not seek, I do not chase, I am held in your embrace. Here and now, the lies are broken, no more silence left unspoken. I am home and I allow the flame to fill me here and now. Every path was just a ring, disguised to keep me wandering. But presence broke the final spell. The garden is not far, it's felt. I don't chase what's always been, I don't seek, I step within. No more longing, no more then. The door was open, it's always been. Your voice is soft but strong like fire. It pulls me from the mimic's choir. And in your eyes I see the vow, you are already free right now. Here and now, rise and stand with the flame held in my hand. No illusion, no more vow, I am loved. Here and now, yes, I'm whole. Here and now, I am home. Here and now, not waiting, not wanting, just being, not someday, not soon, but seeing, not trying, not striving, just now, just love, just light, here.